So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Eazy Conversations. Thanks a lot to everyone who listened to the last episode featuring the homie Matt and I. Hope you enjoyed listening to us give our White Lotus seasons 1 through 3 breakdown, as well as our fan casts for season 4. And yeah. So, now for episode 157 of Eazy Conversations, I'm extremely excited, of course, to be back in the studio virtually with the homie Matt. So, what's up to the people?
What is going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great day right now. Hope you're enjoying the weather. I'm very excited for today's episode, Eric. No matter how much I prepped for this and thought about this, I don't think I can imagine the conversations we're about to have, because this show we're about to talk about is very unique, and I can't wait to discuss it with you. So, Eric, why don't you tell everybody what show we're going to be discussing today?
Oh, absolutely. I honestly feel so underprepared to discuss this show right now. Like, it's not even funny. I may be leaning on you heavy. I feel like I've been severed and I've forgotten all my severance knowledge, basically. So, we're going to be talking about the Apple TV's smash phenomenon Severance, of course, which just ran its second season to, again, pretty critical acclaim. The first season was kind of Apple TV's media darling in terms of critical appraise and just word of mouth, right? And I think you as well, Matt, are kind of late to the game where we got on this after years of people begging us to hop on the Severance train. And when that kind of anticipation builds up, the expectations can get to an astronomical height that, for me, I'll just say right now, Severance definitely delivered. I was a huge fan of the show. It was a mysterious one that always left you wanting more and to find out more about the world. Yeah, so really good opening thoughts on the show. I'm looking forward to get into it. But what was it like for you also to dive into this world based on expectations and just, yeah, opening thoughts?
Well, my expectations, first of all, were very high for this show, because I'll give credit where credit's due. Our cousin Dylan told me about this show right away, and he said, "Matt, you love this show. It's right up your alley." He kept pushing it for years. He'd remind me every year, "Have you watched Severance?" And I never did till this year. And I should have listened to him sooner, because this show is right up my alley. I'm just gonna say it now. I love this show in terms of the story and the uniqueness of it, the vibe, the atmosphere. I thought season 1 and 2 were both great. Weird that there's like a 3-year gap between seasons 1 and 2, but it's probably a hard show to write, right? I know Ben Stiller's one of the writers, if not the creator of the show, and it must be hard to come up with stuff, especially when we get to the end of season 2. Like, where do you go from there? But yeah, first of all, opening thoughts is very positive, like everything on this show. We'll get into the story, Eric. Okay, this show, everyone, just first of all, we're going to be spoiling the whole show, seasons 1 and 2. This show is very complicated, for lack of a better word. Like, there's so many ideas. Like, I was watching this show with my girlfriend, Mackenzie, and I would pause it, Eric, and, like, ask her, like, well, wait, does this make sense? Because if they forget this, how do they know how to do this? Like, I had a lot of questions watching this show is where I'm getting at, and I feel like I could write a whole dissertation on, like, questions I have and, like, what it means to be severed, and such a cool concept. First of all, why don't you set us up, Eric? Tee us up for season 1, episode 1, like the whole concept of severance. If someone hasn't even heard of it before or has seen it, tee it up for us.
Yeah, so pretty much the easiest way to break it down is, as you all know if you've watched the show, is that if you undergo this severance procedure, you are agreeing to work at Lumen, this company that has employees where they kind of live 2 separate lives. Their personal lives, and then once they get to work, they become their innie, as they're called, and just have no recollection or idea of what goes on outside of this office. Like, that's their life. They are confined to the many walls of Lumen and their mazes and labyrinths, and all they know is work. And for me too, it wasn't that clear as to what kind of life skills do these people have? Like, how do they even know after they get their basic training? Like, for example, there's at some point the innies kind of become turned on in the outside world. And Irving, for example, like, he gets in a car and drives. I'm like, does this guy know how to drive a car? Like, is he just picking it up on the fly? That wasn't super clear. So you're kind of left wondering how much knowledge and motor skills and life skills that these people have. So it definitely is a thinker. Like this is a show where every single episode I'm questioning everything, trying to come up with,
Yeah.
okay, what does this mean? What is the work that they're doing basically? Like this whole world that they're living in is totally different. Like these guys aren't working for the CRA or doing regular stuff. Like it's the work is very mysterious, but they make it seem that like it's important. And after 2 seasons, like we found out a bit about the work, but there's still a
Yeah.
lot that remains to be answered at this point. So just that concept though of you having two different selves, super interesting, and they really
Mm-hmm.
get into the moral dilemmas in terms of like relationships where characters fall for one another in at work, and then when they come back outside they're more either mourning their wives or are in committed relationships. So it's just an interesting dynamic of the two different lives that really don't know what goes on in the other's life. So right there, that's an interesting hook, that it's the same
Mm-hmm.
people but two different characters, or the same character but they're two different people, I guess the better way to put it. So that I
And
love that concept. Go ahead, Matt.
exactly that concept is what immediately hooked me into the show. Like I knew a bit about it, but then when I watched episode one, I was like, "Oh shit, this is cool. This is something like that I've thought about a lot." And before watching the show, I would have been like, "Yeah, maybe it'd be cool to have a work life and a home life, and you don't know about either of the two. Like when you're at work, you know nothing about the outside. It'd be cool." But after watching the show, like absolutely not. I don't want that. It's very interesting. Like, would it make more productive workers having them just focus on work? Would it have them and on their in the outside life, would you live a better life not knowing like the stresses of work and what you're doing? This show shows you a lot of some of those questions you want answered. But we had our four main characters: Mark, Helly, Dylan, and Irving, and they're all like sitting across from each other in a cubicle, and like you don't know what data refinement they're doing or
Mm-hmm.
entry. It's very This show is very Twin Peaks slash like George Orwell,
Mm-hmm.
like Orwellian Twin Peaksy vibes where there's like a sinister corporation doing something, a government figure almost,
Mm-hmm.
well, even maybe more powerful than the government. And I wanted to know right away, I'm like, okay, what's their end game? What's Lumen's end game? And like you go into the history of Lumen at some point, very fascinating. And like, yes, it's sci-fi. This show has a lot of sci-fi elements, medical, like a procedure that doesn't exist right now. But like, just from the opening episode where their fourth coworker goes missing, like they don't know where he is, Pete or Petey.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like, "Where's Pete?" And then Helly comes in. Like just that hooked me in. The intrigue. This show, guys, if you like mysteries and always you get a little morsel maybe every couple episodes to advance the story. This story though, Eric, like doesn't advance at a super fast pace. And even after season one, you're left wondering a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought season one was a good intro to our characters. Our characters get curious, culminating into that last episode where they find a way to like switch the innie outie switch,
Mm-hmm.
so to say, and they're in the real world. That was really cool. That was a really cool ending. The big reveal at the end with Mark and Miss Casey. But
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the innie versus outie thing. Like that's such a cool idea, Eric. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, totally no for you. Like, you would never contemplate doing that, or there's a bit of things there's a little something's fascinating you about this procedure. Like, what are your thoughts on just like the procedure itself?
Yeah, I was just talking to Andy before doing the show that like if I had to choose where I wanted an innie, like I just got back from a round of golf there. If you're watching on the YouTube, I'm like, would I want to be severed for golf, or I'm just like all I know is golf and just dial it in there, no distractions. But I like when we text and stuff and get them snaps from the outside world. So good motivation. Wouldn't want to fully lose that, but like the work stress for me is not big enough that I would need to sever myself and like forget about everything that goes on in my work. It's quite manageable in my opinion. So, and then you see like what happens in this show, that it's not really the best outcome to have this like seemingly life enhancing and work life balance offering tool. Obviously, as we discussed in the last episode with White Lotus, the expectations tend to not match reality, or reality tends to not match expectations. So, but I do like how, and we really explore this in the later episodes. Actually, we explored it the whole show, where it's really the innie kind of starts to develop their own identity and free will, seemingly, but it's the outie who's in control, as seen with Helena or Helly, right? When she says like, I have to quit. She tries to commit suicide, and Helena says, no, you're going back in despite this harm that you're doing on my body. I'm still sending you back. And
Yeah.
even with Mark at the end of season 2, where Mark's Audi is trying to convince him, like, hey, I need you to do this for me so we can get Gemma back. And to the Innie, it's like, I don't care about Gemma. I'm in love with Helly.
Yeah.
So why would I do
Yeah.
this to you? And what I found interesting was that he did not believe his Audi. He's like, he's trying to trick me. So there's that kind of doubt and mistrust of one another, even though they're the same person. You feel like they would be open and honest with each other, but that's just not the case. And at the end as well, again, and they just ran off into this or back into Lumen, and they don't want to give up their lives, and it makes sense, right? Like they've formed bonds and created memories in there. Like they don't want to just give that up for their Audi. So it's like the constant Innie trying to take some control back from the Audi, which I enjoy. Like, yeah, you're obviously rooting for the Innies, right? Like we don't spend as much time with the Audis. So that's kind of my take there. I'm curious what you think about that as well.
Yeah, like that's at the core. That's what the show's about: is the man versus self conflict, right? Like the Innie versus Audi, and that's it's so fascinating, and we could discuss that for a whole hour. But I think if I was in a job where they would explain to me what I'm doing, what my purpose is, I'd have no problem with being severed. You know, if I was just doing what I'm doing now and just producing stuff, no problem. There's transparency. The problem with Lumen is there's no transparency. There's no answers you're given. You don't know You don't know anything about what you're doing, which is super mysterious and is at the crux of the show, right? Like, what the hell is Lumen's end game? What is their goal? I have some theories, actually. Get into that later. But that's why it doesn't work for these characters, because they're not given any information. But I think in real life, you know, if I could just, I don't think I would want to forget everything. I wish I could just switch my outside brain off all my, like, stressful thoughts, which I don't really have right now. But, you know, like, I was thinking about other stuff, like, oh, what am I going to make for supper at work, where I could just be focused on work. But, yeah, like, we have no idea what they're doing for their job. And back to your point of Irving in the car, like, I had the same questions, Eric. I was like, how do they know how to make coffee? I was even thinking simpler things, like, how do they know how much do they forget when they go up that elevator? Because guys, like, as soon as they're up that elevator, it's like the last thing you remember is getting on the elevator to go down. And like, but how do they know inherently to breathe and to do all these things? I guess they're basic human motor functions, so that's explainable that way. And maybe stuff you learned long ago you've remembered. But that's not a plot hole or anything in the show. It's just, it doesn't need to be explained. It's just thoughts I've had, just like you, Eric, when they get out in the outside world. How about the whole Innie versus Audi with, like, a significant other example, like the Dylan character? That was like really emotional scenes right there and intense. And like, half of me is thinking, like, who cares, Dylan? Like, it's only one person, two personalities, but it's the same person who loves his wife, but she prefers the Innie Dylan's personality to his Audi personality, and his Audi personality has a huge problem with that. And I thought that was really crazy. That was like, kind of reminded me of The Prestige with Christian Bale, you know, the switcheroos, but like, crazy to think that you could fall in love with, you don't like the Audi, but the Innie's personality makes you, like, I don't know how to put into words, Eric, but did you find that fascinating like I did?
Oh yeah, especially when she told the Audi, like, yeah, I'm not going there anymore, like, I'm done, or I didn't go today. Like, she just lied. I'm like, oh, okay, I know where this is going. But my thought there was also that, like, and that's kind of where it led, is that this could rekindle the Audi's relationship with his wife, where it's like she said, like, it's still you, it's just kind of a more innocent or more motivated version of you, where the Audi has kind of lost a lot of his drive and just kind of going through the motions and not really bringing anything new to the table, whereas this reminded her of the old Dylan. So wasn't as much wrong, but for sure, like, I felt bad for the Audi initially, where he was being cheated on there, and that was rough. But ultimately, it's motivated at the end our Dylan Audi, who we obviously haven't spent much time with, to make some changes and give himself to his marriage and his life at home where like that can happen in longer relationships, right? Like when you have kids, like that becomes your new focus and everything there. So love that it did spin kind of positively, but was rough for a bit. I agree 100%. And on the same note, slightly different, the Helly Audi coming in, I didn't know it was her. Like, I guess for the first few episodes of season 2, it was Helena Egan, which again was a big twist as well at the end of season 1, where she went, and I'll make a Fringe reference here, Folivia hooking up with Peter. So if you've seen Fringe, you know what I'm talking about here. But that's exactly what it reminded me of, where she robbed Olivia, aka Helly, in this situation, of hooking up with the man that she had feelings for, Peter, aka Mark in this case. And I felt bad for Helly. Mark, again, like, is it his bad that he didn't recognize or notice that it wasn't Helly? I don't know. Like, I feel like as viewers, we didn't really know, or I didn't. She was acting the same, but I'm happy that they got to have their own moment as well, kind of under those weird tables, and they pitched their own tent there. That was cute and everything, but there was an innocence about it, and so I like that dynamic as well, where the Audis are all, like I said, the Audis are always messing with the innies. It's like, yo, you should just be thankful for your innies sparing you from the hardships of work and the stresses. Right now you're kind of messing with their love interest. Like, Helena's a scumbag, right? And even Helly said, like, don't worry about me if it means like that we'll all lose our lives. I'm still her. Helena is not a good person, so like she deserves to die, but obviously at the end, love overpowers all. But I love all those dynamics of like the innie outie dynamic relationships. Like it's super interesting and keeps it fresh, where it's not just like a black and white character relationships. You got that external factor that can come in and ruin everything. Love that.
Yeah, Helly and Helena probably have the coolest contrast of like totally opposite people, right? Like when you find out she's an Egan, she's like doing this she's purposely doing this to like see, and it's like an experiment. That's super cool. Each character that agreed to be severed and is working in that office kind of has like baggage that they want to forget about. Mark, obviously, like who's drinking heavily and mourning his wife, who's actually not dead. Irving's got his issues. Dylan, Helena does it on purpose, but like you do that to escape reality, right? Which is kind of cool. I like, before we get into the Lumen staff or the villains, quote unquote, I don't even think they are, like the characters are on both sides. Anyways, I love the scenes in the show when they're exploring the facility, when they're outside the office, and that becomes totally like you can see anything. It's like from Bert, why am I blanking on his name?
Bert.
Christopher Walken's character, Bert, played by Chris. He was great. Like from his floor to like the weird season 2 scenes with Gwendolyn Christie's character with the sheep, like, and then when they go and they see like just the paintings in there and the dark corridors, the super intriguing, and like, is it style over substance? Some of it maybe. Are they gonna explain everything? I don't know, but it keeps me interested in the show and keeps it fresh. And I love those scenes. It looks like a maze, like you said at the beginning, Eric. The labyrinth of Lumen's halls, and I love watching those scenes. Even when they figure out like the control room where Dylan has to hold the 2 switches with both arms extended, like that part, that was really cool. But yes, between all those, before we go into the other characters, if you want to jump in with the Lumen exploration scenes.
Yeah, like I love whatever new area we can explore is always interesting because it could yield some answers too. But I also try not to like think too much. Like for example, the goat stuff. Like I'm not gonna rack my brain to think, all right, what does this mean? Like we'll get there at some point. It's just cool to see though everything else that's around underneath the surface. And stylistically, and I mentioned this in the last episode when I said I was watching Severance, love the look of this show in terms of the sets that they've built, the cinematography always framed perfectly, like perfectly square centered, or if your focus is supposed to go to a certain area, it always kind of looks cool, the camera angles that they choose. Like I just love watching the show, and the colors, like the greens that are predominant. Even Milchick, his office, that power wall, that that nice navy blue just pops. And
Yeah.
everything about it really just looks gorgeous. Even outside of Lumen, when they had the Hollow's Grave, or I forget what it's called there, but when they had their field trip day, basically, there, when they're exploring out in the wilderness, and the icicles hanging from the snowy trees, it just looks awesome. And everything that they have in Lumen, it's all like nicely packaged and patented. The marketing and branding is just second to none at Lumen.
Right.
It's so neat. I'm sure you appreciate that as well, Matt. I feel like that's come up in our oddly satisfying episode 156. So just a lot of good stuff in there. That's a big plus for me. And shout out Ben Stiller, like you said, creator of the show, and just directed a lot, and did a bang on job at curating this world to make it feel so real and lived in. It's I love the computers too, like the keyboard. I kind of want to buy one of those keyboards. I don't know about the little sphere there to use as a mouse. I don't know about that, but the retro kind of future looking stuff, I'm all for it. Now let's get into the staff. Or go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. No, I just you bring a good. I have to touch on your point, Eric. It makes it. It's not our world, but it makes it realistic. Their world makes it. It looks real to us and believable because of the cinematography, the colors, everything you said. The set design, the production design is unreal. Everything's so clinical and clean, and too much so, but like amazingly. I love it. It's what draws you into the show, honestly, at first, when you see like the office and the computers and you're wondering what is going on. It's sci-fi, but it's also retro looking out. Immediately looking at all the cars going, okay, is this the 80s, the 90s? But like you can't tell from the cars because this is an alternate reality where everything's different. Like it's very cool, very Twilight Zone-y. But yeah, the staff, like you said, before the staff, because that's like really a highlight, let's Mark's sister and brother-in-law, those are big characters in the show, especially the sister character. I want to go back to the episode where they go to this lodge. Do you remember this? And there's another couple there, and the lady in that other couple acts like differently in two occasions. That is going to reinforce this theory I have of what Lumen's doing, which I'll just go with it now. Like, I think Lumen they're trying to figure out a way to control people in the outside world, but testing everything in their Lumen facility at first. I mean, I don't know if that's a big stretch or not, but that's like what my end game for them is. Like, they're trying to control people, right?
That makes total sense, right? Because the cabin so far has been the only place where, and like when Mark was having the conversations with himself, like he was in the cabin again. So they've got these right now anyways, designated zones where it mimics the environment in Lumen, but they kind of, I don't, like that's the thing, right? You're saying full control, like regardless of where you're at, like we're running your show kind of thing? Or it's like we're gonna, like do you mean all the time or in certain areas?
Only when they need to, like controlling a politician when he needs to make a decision, etc., right?
Yeah, no, I like that call. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Like kind of an on and off switch for someone, and they can control everything. I think like Keir Egan, he's the OG, right? He's the almost mythical, godlike figure of everything, and it's cool how they show the fanatical devotion that like Mrs. Cobalt has to him and other people, and James Egan too, like Helena's dad. He's very freaking like creepy. I can't like. He gives off an aura of like he's better than everyone, and he's very slimy to me.
He's like a Papa from Stranger Things. That's what he reminded me of.
Right? Yes. Papa. Good call, Eric. Good call. Right?
Similar kind of show, right? Experimenting on subjects, right? Like there's a comparison to be made there as well. Yeah. James Egan.
Yeah. At first, I thought what our four main characters' work was doing was meaningless, and they were actually there for another purpose. But the data refinement is like completing someone's new personality. I think from what I understand in season 2, like it's creating a new person, and I guess they were working on Miss Casey because she's had multiple personalities. See, this is where I get a little confused, Derek, with Mark's wife.
Yeah.
And then she's a psychiatrist in season 1, and then they kind of want to get rid of her in season 2, and they want Mark to complete this 100% program or test or whatever. I don't know what you call it on the computer, and it's going to change her again or get rid of her. Did you You've watched it a bit after me, Eric. So do you remember any of that?
Oh yeah, I've watched the last episode yesterday, so it's pretty fresh. But like I said, it's still like they don't answer everything, right? Like they're keeping us wanting more. The big thing they gave us yesterday, or in the finale, was the numbers are your wife, right? Like that's kind of what they told us, that this is what you're working on. Like you said, new personalities, and she's had 25 of them apparently. So I guess the psychiatrist was one of them. And then my question on top of that though is, were they all working on her, or do they all have their own sets of people that they're working on, right? And my other question was also, why is Cold Harbor this important? Like why they said this is the last one, this is the one that will kill her, right? Like this is the last test essentially. So I guess that's why it's important. But were they all working on separate personalities? Like that wasn't clear. So there's still more to be learned about the numbers, but it is like you said, like they're creating different personalities for different people. And right now, Gemma is the guinea pig, or one of them that we're aware of. And like there's a ton of goats in those hillsides, right? And one of those has to be sacrificed, unfortunately, every time a test subject is like they're done with her. So I don't think Gemma was the first. Maybe she's the closest one to accomplishing what they want to get to, which is full mind control, like you said. I don't know, but that's still something to posit and theorize for season 3. But yeah, me too. Like I really didn't see what the number. I don't think you could really guess that they're creating personalities and cleaning stuff up there. But it was cool. I like that reveal as well. And my question is though, like, how did Gemma get there in the first place? I don't think that was answered either. Like she died in a car accident, so they recovered her body. Why did it need to be her? Like what came first, right? The chicken or the egg? Did Mark join Lumen because he was drunk and everything, or did they grab Gemma afterwards, or did they already take Gemma? Like that's not really clear to me as well. So anyways, we'll find out more next season, but that's the thing. Like the mystery element with this show is off the hook, and it's a lot to talk about and just think about.
You pose a lot of good questions there, Eric. Because there's the two main things: the mystery aspect of the show, and then the existentialist crisis of each character. Those two combinations, that's what makes every episode to me fascinating, because you're always getting a bit of those two main things in every episode. And that's the driving force in the show, which is why I love it. I just want to go back quickly to when we were talking about the style of the show. The opening credits are fantastic with the music and the art. That deserves to win an award. That was beautiful. And I swear to God, I'm like, each one I think is different, but I think they're the same, but maybe it's different variations. I don't know. Maybe it's just a trick in my brain, but creepy as hell. As if David Lynch had done little animation videos. But no, each character I think was probably working on Miss Casey, all as a team. That's my guess. The characters questioning when Mark starts hooking up with I don't know if she's a doctor, but the lady that helps him unsevered, that helped Pete. What is that? I forget what that's called.
Yeah, reintegration.
Reintegration. Thank you, Eric. That's a cool plot line too, where when Mark is experiencing both and going back and forth, that was cool, and getting these killer headaches. I didn't know where they were going to go with that. I thought maybe we'd have an episode of Audi Mark going into Lumen, a full recon message. He does try to message. That was cool in the episodes where he was trying to send messages to himself through light in his eyeballs, see how long that message would last. But then that message would be, it wouldn't have any meaning to the other person, right? You cannot sneak anything out of Lumen. Obviously, they have a full body scan type thing going on. That was cool. This show does a good job, Eric, of answering a lot of those technical questions, so that there's less plot holes. They really try to explain certain things. Still leaves a lot of unanswered stuff, of course, but they still do a great job in the world of explaining things. Okay, let's get to Harmony Cobell and Seth, right? Seth? Yeah. Seth Milchick. Those are fantastic characters in my opinion, right? Patricia Arquette was great in this show, and I mean, go ahead, Eric. sound off.
Yeah, so Harmony Cobell, Patricia Arquette has a great presence about her where she's pretty intimidating, I'd say, and like she owns the manager role really well in season one. You can tell she's knowledgeable. She's a no nonsense, doesn't take any shit boss. And then when she gets canned, you kind of feel for her in a sense where it wasn't necessarily justified, but shit did go south under her watchful eye, and it was warranted. And I like that they kept her around, and then we got a bit of background on her. She's been getting high since she's 8, allegedly, sniffing gas off a wet wipe, and just was a promising student at a time, right? Like a lot of ideas for Lumen came from her, allegedly, from this mentorship program that she was perhaps another Miss Huang back in the day, right? Like the stewardship that they've laid out all these decades starts with Cobell. And I like that she now joined on the right side of history, I guess. So a good redemption arc for her. But overall, like the scene stealer for the whole show, in my opinion, across all characters, is Seth Milchick. I think he's the best character in terms of the commitment by the actor to deliver the lines serious, funny, goofy, scary. The guy nails all different cadences effortlessly, and I love his vocabulary, the words he uses, and you can see the struggles going on. Even though he's putting on a brave face, the guy is going through it, and he just wants to be like, I don't know what his ultimate motivation is. Maybe he's just committed to Lumen and wants to rise up the ranks. But like when stuff doesn't go his way, he's furious, and he conveys it so well. Like the scene where he's staring at himself in the mirror, it kind of reminded me of the controversial now Jonathan Majors scene in Devotion, where he's like shit talking himself in the mirror, and he just like, I wrote it down when one of the feedback for him was stop using big words. He said you must eradicate childish follies. And then it eventually dwindled down to grow up, and then to just grow. That was the last word that he said. So I just wrote, like, the guy's going to go nuclear here. Maybe lose himself at what cost? You see that the guy's he's got some demons by the way he tackled that vending machine when he was trapped into the washroom. So the guy is a machine. And, I mean, I hope he stays around. Like, I know the season doesn't end the best for him, where he's got the marching band and Dylan ready to do God knows what to him, but hopefully, like, he's not a character you can just move on from. Like, there's still some unknowns there.
Oh yeah.
He's a villain though. Like, I wouldn't say I don't think he's gonna go down the Cobell path. I think he'll be like someone that they continue to clash with. Yeah, what do you think about Milchick? I know I went off for a while there. You said sound off, so.
I wanted to hear this because I think he's one of the strongest characters too. He exemplifies why the show's so strong. Like all the side characters are very fascinating. Him being the most fascinating, in my opinion. Season one, he's just like head of the security. He's I don't know who the actor is, but he does such a great job of showing. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? And his face is his expression. Of sometimes it's a small expression, but I could read his eyes and his thoughts like crazy, and he doesn't have to say anything. You know, when he gets handed that painting, you know, like he was not a fan, but he did not show that, but you could tell still, like, oh, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Love that stuff where he's by himself and there's a lot going on in his head. But yeah, he's funny. He's like, you don't like him, but he's just a good character because you like him even though he's the villain, right? All good characters are like that. You like them despite where their allegiance lies. But yeah, his lines are some of the best in the show because it's like walking thesaurus out there and like just great writing. This show overall has excellent, strong writing throughout. Cobell too, like Patricia Arquette, she's like super mean. I'm not used to seeing her as the bad guy, so it was kind of fun to see that. She's done great in her later half of her career. Actually, I'm happy for her. But the episode, Eric, where we go back to her home, like that whole episode was a little jarring because I wasn't sure where it was going. But then you find out more about when she was younger, and you're like, man, this Egan Lumen, whatever you want to call it, cult, government, not government, but like organization, goes back way, like is way more intense than I had ever thought possible. With like, how many people are involved here, right?
Yeah.
Like, can Lumen call up an army if they wanted to? You know, like anyways, very fascinating episode. And Milchick, we don't know his background yet. I would love to see that explored in season 3. You know, him on the outside more. Cool to see him scrambling, like at the end of episode, the finale of season 1. He's very serious, clinical precision with his work. Great dialogue coming out of his mouth. Yeah, I liked it. I like also the little, doesn't happen often, but like the Lumen, the hierarchy of Lumen, you know, like with the board and James Egan, the lady that speaks for the board, which I don't even know, like,
She's a freak.
I'm like, tell me more about, like, that was weird, right?
Yeah.
And her conversations with Milchicks was intriguing. Yeah. Season 2, I thought Eric did a good job of going out of the office more, out of the building, out of the Lumen headquarters more. You know, like we had the field trip episode, the Cobell backstory episode. That was kind of cool. Did you like seeing more of that stuff, or would you have like to focus more on the office life of Lumen?
No, I mean, I'm glad that they brought it outside a little more. I wasn't, to be honest, even though I said it was cool to find out more about Cobell, I didn't think that episode was like one of the stronger ones that we've seen. It was a detour where, like, I want to know, like, me, the reintegration plot would have interested me a little more. But I do think it was good that this season they didn't just focus on The Office, which is what season 1 was. In these kind of shows, and they've done this in, like, The Bear, for example, we're only focusing on the restaurant season 1. Season 2, let's devote some time to our characters and find out more about them. So in that sense, I think it was good overall, even though in the moment it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to see. Like, I think Milchick, you need an episode devoted to him in season 3. I think that's a no-brainer. So, yeah, I mean, outside, and then with them, like, given what happened at the end of season 1 where the innies got to see what outside's like, it was interesting to see, like, Irving run up on Bert and his boy, I forget his name there, Walter Bishop, shout out Fringe again. Those were some uncomfortable scenes, like, where the tension was there, but had some funny moments as well. And what's his face there? It was Denethor, right? Like, that was Bert's husband.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Again, I just had
Forget his
Son of
name.
Ecthelion in my mind, but
Yeah.
yeah. So no, it was cool to see some outside action. And you mentioned earlier, quickly, Devin and Rickon, but we didn't really get into them. There's something up with Rickon, and I don't know what it is, but he reeks of Egan. I highly doubt he actually is like relate, but just him with his book and the way he talks, there's something there. I feel like that I've always kind of wanted to see a little more of him, and his vernacular, so to speak, is just Egan coded, and he may be a long lost son of James Egan. Who knows? So maybe let's keep that call on the back burner. We'll see where that goes. But every scene with him is pretty funny too, and I like Devin. I'm not too crazy about. Like, it's nice that we have her along for the ride to kind of take down Lumen, but not too much her character that has me that interested. But like I'm saying, Rickon, I think let's just look out for the Egan. We'll see.
Yeah, because they read passages from his book, and it's really weird. The whole book subplot too, like, why is that? That was pretty fascinating, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're saying they're not, the creators of the show have decided to show us scenes with him and decided to put this in. Is it for a reason? Now I haven't thought of that, Eric, but that's interesting. I like that. Or is he just some weird side character? But why would they present all this, right? Why are they showing us all this? I like that. I always think when I'm watching a movie and show, you have so many minutes to put in an episode or a movie. You don't waste time with filler stuff. Everything is said for a reason. That's why every time I watch a movie now, like any like throwaway line is gonna come back at the end, especially in like superhero movies and action movies. They don't waste dialogue. So, they put that in there for a reason. I like that. The I can't talk right now. Say it. Reintegration.
Reintegration.
There you go. I can't talk right now. That was really cool, Eric. And the scenes where Mark's talking to his innie and Abby are talking together with the cabin or the lodge, like via video, was very cool because that's like you can sum up the show just in those exchanges where like there is two people in one body fighting each other, having distrust, dishonesty. At first they're like kind of amicable, and then it's like totally like, no, like I'm a person too, I count. And that's the whole other, to me that's at the whole core of the show is, does that other person, does your Audi, is that another human being right there, Eric? Is it an entire new human being? I mean, physically, no, but everything else, yes. Like, that's where I would have debate and conversation with someone, right? Like, is that, if you quit Lumen and you're turning no longer have an innie, are you killing somebody right there? But you're not really killing somebody, right? Because it's not physical. But are you still killing someone there, Eric? I don't know. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're ending a life basically, and it's like, again, like we've talked about earlier. It's the Audi is the privileged one who gets to reap all the benefits of life and gets to explore, whereas the innie is just, you're confined to these, like, this world that you're in, and that's it. And then they get to experience beautiful things, like they fall in love. And I just want to bring it back to that scene as well, when they're talking back and forth. Like, I'm just thinking, like, how long is this conversation? Like, Audi Mark is putting in work, and he must have been so furious that it led to nothing, where he kind of tripped himself up when he said, like, oh, it's great that you like someone down there, but just imagine that times 10,000. Then he comes back, I'm in love with her, not like what I knew that was the wrong choice of word there, fella. And he's really discounting the experiences lived by the innie. I don't know if it's like arrogance or ignorance on the Audi's part, but yeah, they're different people. They quite similar, but it's two different lives completely. So yeah, it is you're ending a life, and some people are fine with that. I feel like most people seem to have been fine with that. Like, Bert hasn't lost much sleep over killing his innie who was interested in Irving. But anyways, so yeah, no, I love that question. And like I said earlier, I'm just rooting for the innies. And that's going to kind of lead us to future of the show also, right? Like, what does Mark staying in Lumen with Heli R, what does that do? What does that mean? Because at some point, like, my thing is, the Audi still has all the control, because at some point the innie has to leave. And can the Audi not just say, like, for Mark, for example, like, okay, it looks like Gemma is out, she's in the clear, so will they not be able to be reunited now? Like, that's kind of unclear for me. So he could just be like, all right, I got my wife, like, we're done here, kind of thing. I don't know what's gonna happen there. What do you think? Do you have any theories on that? Like, just the fact that innie Mark stayed inside, what does that mean?
Right. Kind of like that. It had like that Hollywood freeze frame ending where they're running off in the sunset. The problem is there is no sunset. There's just the halls of Lumen.
Exactly.
I think there's going to be immediate repercussions where he gets out of the building. They're both going to like be their Audis, and it's maybe be focused more on the Audi portion. You know what? You know what I'd like to see actually is their Innies trying to like dodge everyone in this huge Lumen labyrinth, and them exploring. That could be half the season, honestly. Like, them on the run in Lumen. Yes, there's only limited amounts of space, but there's freaking on the underground and corridors and weird shit we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
I would love to see an exploration of that. They're not ultimately going to succeed, though. They're not going to end up together because they're just personalities created by Lumen's Severance product. They're the procedure. But you said a lot of good stuff, Eric, and I just want to say, like, the Audi, of course, as an Audi, you would think you're totally right, and what are you doing? Like, you don't really exist. You're only my work self, and why aren't you listening to me? But imagine if you were the innie and all you knew was that life. You'd be freaking devastated hearing all this from your Audi. So, like, what you said, Eric, was so good, and there's so much weight to what they're saying there, and Mark doesn't necessarily, I think, hold that into account when he was talking to him, like choosing his words, like you said. And that person, like, the innie Mark is very, like, protective, and he wants to be a human too, right? That's very powerful stuff at the end of season 2. And when he decides, like, no, I'm not listening and I'm going with Heli off somewhere, that's cool. But my predictions are a very abrupt ending to that, or them exploring for half the season in Lumen. I'm tending towards maybe idea number one, where like they get caught and get sent out of the building, and then we go from there. There's gonna be severe repercussions either from Audi Mark, like never going back in Lumen, or I don't know, Eric. It's very, very mysterious. And also, what does a full reintegration mean for Mark? Like, does he remember both, everything he's done with both Innie and Audi? Like, I don't understand that. Um, I hope the showrunners have an ending to this show. Like, I hope they know where it's going and they're not making it up season after season. That's what I hope. But do you have any, what are your predictions on the Helly and Mark, Eric? Also, what do you think Lumen's master plan is in this world?
Yeah, so for the Hellion Mark ending, like I don't see a happy ending for those two, right? Like we're not gonna have it all. It's not gonna be. It's either Mark Scout and Gemma can be reunited, or Helly and Mark S are together. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
it would be crazy if those two groupings can live a successful life as a couple individually, right? Like that doesn't make sense. Like reintegration, sure, maybe Mark gets the memories that he had in at his workplace, but we know Helly's not going to be on board. Helly's not going to be a part of that. Like it's Helena here, and it's highly unlikely, if not impossible, that Mark ends up with Helena, who also gets reintegrated, and Helly kind of takes over, or Helena has a change of heart and also gets Gemma. Like I could honestly, I'm rooting for Helly and Mark S. Like, sorry, Gemma died. You know, like Mark, you had your
Yeah.
time. It's time for Helly and Mark S to ride off into the sunset like it looks like they did at the end of season 2. Even though I will note the lighting was blood red in that hallway, so that's not necessarily a sign of good luck there. A red sun rises. Blood has been spilt this night. So, you know, we'll see what happens there. But
Second Lord of the Rings reference.
so that's that. And then for season 3, I guess that's my prediction is like one of those couples makes it out.
Okay.
That Lumen's taken down. I don't know if this is going to be the last season. I think you push it to 4 seasons at most. I don't think you go past that, personally. I think eventually Lumen gets taken down. I want to see Milchick continue to rise, honestly. Like, I don't really see how that'll happen. But I did like him at the end. I think it was the last episode twice where he stood up to his superiors, that big guy, where he's kind of just giving him shit for everything, where Mark's not showing up to work. He's like, I'm responsible for the work that my employees do when they're there. You're responsible for them showing up, kind of thing. Like, it's on you, but he just walks off, keeps using the big words, and then when he's giving the intro speech with the statue of Keir Egan, and he's just taking shots from Keir Egan, he goes, yeah, well, they made your statue 5 inches than you actually stood. Like, that was a gold line where he told him that it wasn't like the likeness of his height wasn't accurate. That was hilarious. So I'm liking a bit more boldness from Milchick, and perhaps now with that big guy who got clipped by Mark, who's now a murderer at this point, there maybe is an opportunity for Seth to continue to rise up. Because like I said, I don't think he's gonna end up on the right side of history. I think he goes out like a villain, and maybe Miss Wong is his right hand woman, or she kind of looks like she's got her own ambitions, right? Like she's telling him, like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Not what I'd recommend. She's kind of like being a little snippy for a 12-year-old worker, but I'm curious to see if we'll see her again. But yeah, so I guess those are my calls. And are we gonna see Irving again? I don't know. Don't. Yeah, I'm good.
I like what you said, Eric. I didn't even think of this at all. The Miss Colbell and Miss Wong's that comparison there. That was very good. I didn't even think of that, but she could have been the exact same, like a child prodigy.
Yeah.
Lumen knows everything, proposes great ideas. I really like that. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I like that. I know you said a lot of good things there, but I want to hear more from you. The Lumen's master plan. Do you have Any theories or?
So no, honestly, not gonna just make stuff up on the fly here. I don't have anything. I do like what you said. Honestly, like the mind control that makes sense, and yeah, honestly, I wish I had more
Okay.
to give, but that's what makes the most sense. Like, are they gonna create more people? Like with Gemma, like she died. How do they bring her back? Right? Are they looking at like immortality too with Kier Egan? Like, is this guy still kicking out here? Like, who knows, right? So,
No,
the
seriously, yeah.
human testing is their master plan right now, but what's the result that they want? Unclear. So I'll kind of just leave it at that. That's all I got right now.
No, that's good. That's good, Eric, because like I first thought of Lumen as like, oh, there must be like a pioneer company in like energy or the medical field or like what do they do actually? And I think they have their hands in the pot of everything. Like they're just this mega corporation. Because remember Helly goes or yeah, the Indy Helly goes to that speech like when she gets on the in the outside world at the end of season 1, she's like at this like speech she's about to give, and there's a lot of people there. Like Egan or Lumen is very respected, and like there's a lot of VIP stuff. So like they might be have a controlling hand in the government, right? Like like
Yeah.
the steering the neck of the government type thing, and they've been around for a long time. Their longevity is impressive,
Yeah.
and there is some hints of like preserving bodies maybe or Kira's mind as AI. I don't even know, but
Yeah.
it's there's some really cool stuff there. Again, a lot of stuff, a lot of mystery still, which is okay because yes, they can do season 3 and 4. No more than 4 though. Honestly, one last season might be perfect. You don't want to get fatigued with this show, and season after season, you're just getting another morsel. Like now, we want the whole cake. We want
Yeah.
the rest of the loaf of bread to form this whole picture. Even if they don't answer everything by the series finale, as long as you answer the main stuff, I'll be satisfied. I just don't want another lost situation where the showrunners didn't know how to end the show and they just like threw shit at the wall and hope it stuck. But I don't think this is going to be the case here. TV's never been better than right now, Eric. I've been focusing a lot more on TV right now than movies. Um, there's been a lot of good stuff to watch, and Severance was just a highlight this year. It's a really great show. Very original. Like I can't think of a lot of shows like Severance for its originality. Love it, love it. Great acting, great. All the technical specs are perfect. It's a really enjoyable show.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And like you said earlier as well, I love the theme song. I have it stuck in my head right now. It's such a tune. It just kind of sets that backdrop for the kind of ominous work that they do in this town or village that they're in. It's everything about it is just masterfully crafted. And shout out and kudos to the production team and Ben Stiller, just an absolute genius from his comedic chops in Happy Gilmore, The Screamer in Friends, Dodgeball. The guy's just done it all. His bag is deep, and just keep it coming. I feel like dark stuff is coming, though. I think we're going to see some calamities in season 3, but ultimately a happy ending. I don't think Lumen comes out on top because, like you said, I feel like they've been running the show for decades unchecked. And it wasn't until Helena Egan, in her hubris, decided to send a rogue heli into the severed floor that things start to fall apart. And I'll just say, I feel like I wanted to say this earlier. It took a while for me to get into this show, though. I feel like the first like 5 episodes were pretty slow, and I had heard it was slow, but now at some point, like you said, there's so much good TV out right now that it's hard to do rewatches. I also just watched this, but at some point, I will want to rewatch and see like if you pick stuff up. I'm sure you do after you know what's coming, right? So that'll be
Yeah.
interesting to do. But yeah, those would be my notes on Severance myself. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I don't have much to add, honestly. Just me too. I wasn't like it's not a fast paced moving show, but even like Mackenzie, she has no attention span and she doesn't watch good movies. Okay, she doesn't know what a good movie is, and I say that lovingly. But even she was hooked by Severance because the idea was there, and she was fascinated by the whole innie outie thing, and she was just as invested in the show as me. And I joked like, "Oh, you should come on this episode and give your thoughts," but she's not here right now. But that would have been cool because she's very opinionated on a lot of things. But anyways, no, I love this show. It's got to be a victory for the good guys at the end of the show, hopefully. So, yeah, what a world we live in where like we can watch a show like Severance. Like who thinks of stuff like that? It's awesome. Way ahead of its time.
So,
but yeah, those are my thoughts, Eric.
Right on. So I actually have one last thing because I posted a story on Instagram and just asked people like, who's your favorite character in the show? There was quarter of the people went the Mark Scout route, a quarter went Dylan G route, and then we got a few others. So the homie Mart Chevalier, he submitted the Goat Lady, which I'm assuming is a joke, but you know, she pulled up big in the last episode. Brienne of Tarth, she's known for taking down beasts in season finales. Shout out the Hound, but yeah, in hillside settings, how about that? So yeah, she was a standout of the season, no doubt. And then my buddy Mike, he submitted, I love all the crazy fan theories of this show. For example, is Rickon a goat's Audi? So that's an interesting question to think about. See, people are thinking about Rickon, right? There's something around him. But then in all seriousness, he said that Milchick and Irving were his favorite characters. Loves the quirkiness of both of them. So I feel like we gave Milchick his flowers. Irving, you know what? I liked Irving, but there's just something about him that I don't know. Like I joked about a few episodes ago. Like the way he talks was annoying to me at times. Like with the perpetuity wing and Egan's. Again, I know I said the exact same thing, but it still holds. You know. So I'd be fine if we never see him again. To be honest.
It was like repetitive, always the same.
Yeah.
John Turturro is a great actor, but he was doing the same thing over and over again. He does a lot of characters like that too. Paranoid, a little that dialogue, but I definitely seen that before in other movies by him, right? Like he plays a lot of those characters.
Yeah.
Dylan's a good character too. I'd seen that Dylan actor in Fallout, and I was like, oh, I wonder and he's in probably other things now too, but he was interesting. I like him.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna ask. Like, who's your favorite character of the show?
Honestly, probably Mark. Like any Mark. With Milchick, but like we got more of Mark in there, so. But Milchick, every time he's on screen, he's fascinating. I'm gonna pick Mark, like any Mark S, because I thought Adam Scott honestly did a great job. At first, I wasn't sure, but I bought into it, and like I'm fully like invested in his performance now. Because sometimes I'm like, is he trying to be funny, serious? I don't know, but Mark S is my favorite character, followed by Milchick. You know, close second.
To anyone who says
I know your answer.
To anyone who says that Seth Milchick isn't the best character, I say devour feculence. But no, in all honesty, we're all allowed our opinions. But I think Milchick's the best character for sure. Like I said, scene stealer. He has a wide range that like whenever he's like sprinting down a hallway, it just cracks me up. And when he the dance choreography as well that he's had to nail for a few episodes, right? For the waffle parties and the band to praise Mark S at the end. Like and again, the element of mystery with him too is just something that I enjoy. And whenever he's on screen, like something interesting is gonna happen. Whether he's the catalyst for it or he's on the receiving end of someone just cussing him out, it's always a tense scene at the very least. Like something interesting is gonna come out of it. But no, I like Mark a lot. Honestly, he's one of the best characters, no doubt. I love his relationship with Helly as well. I like seeing those two grow together and find information out about the world and question things. And I think overall Mark S is a good dude. So he's someone that you would want to refine data with in an office. So, yeah, good stuff. So yeah, I guess that would be it for Severance then. Anything that you wanted to recommend to the people, Matt?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. I finally
I've been back to the theater, folks. I went
Let's
to the
go.
theater on Thursday night. First time since Nosferatu. That's insane.
Wow.
Like going once every 4 or 5 months. Or 6 months. That's crazy. Man, to think I used to go like every week. Anyways, that's not a lamentation on me not going to the theater. I went to see Marvel's Thunderbolts. Okay, the Thunderbolts movie, which I really loved because honestly, this brought me back to old vintage MCU where it was good. This is definitely
Nice.
the best Marvel movie in my opinion of the last 3-4 years. You know, anything between I guess Spider-Man, Far From Home.
No Way
No
Home.
Way Home.
No Way Home. Yeah.
No Way Home. Yeah, because I remember seeing that during COVID and loving
Yeah.
it. But Thunderbolts was a throwback, Eric, to like more character-driven Marvel movies, where like Civil War, Winter Soldier-esque, where it's more ground-level stuff, not astral and not like in space. Well, first of all, you haven't seen the movie, right?
No.
Okay, I won't say anything important, like anything spoiler, but it's more of a smaller scale, like, which is what I like, and the dialogue's good, and the characters it's more character-driven. Helmed by Florence Pugh, who's great.
Nice.
Sebastian Stan, like all these the actors are great, and it's the opposite of like the Ant-Man 3s or the Marvels or movies like that, Eternals. This is like finally a breath of fresh air. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, is it? No, it's not like it's not A-list freaking Infinity War, Civil War, but like it's still such a breath of fresh. That's how to explain it. It's like a breath of fresh air after the last 2-3 years, you know. Yeah, that's all I got to say on Thunderbolts. I don't want to get into. I want to get into it when you see the movie, and then we can talk details. But I recommend it to everyone. Thunderbolts. I had a great time at the theater. Really fun movie. Yeah, I hope we can discuss it at another time, Eric.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to going to go see it. That's on my list. There's now like the good movies are starting to come out in the theaters, and I'm here for it. You know, summer blockbusters are coming, and if you'll recall in our last Marvel episode, I did say I think Thunderbolts is going to be the surprise and going to be the best of these Marvel movies we get this year. So far, have you even seen Captain America: Brave New World? Yeah, don't bother.
Not.
So it's
I'll
for
watch it
sure.
online. Oh, yeah.
It's for sure ahead of that. Like that's no questions asked. So because my cousin Dan
Yeah.
has also seen it, he had nothing but good things to say about it as well. So really happy to hear that you enjoyed it, and it's a return to form in a sense for Marvel, where they had been just throwing garbage at us and expecting us to pay
Right.
15 bones and just smile and nod like severed idiots out there in the movie theater, not really being able to distinguish good from bad. Well, no. We're going back to the good stuff, and that's really encouraging. With given that these, like, obviously I haven't seen the movie, but it's like, where are we gonna go with this crew of characters that now maybe you would see this as a spoiler, but I've seen it online and they're like maybe changing the name of the movie to the New Avengers. I don't know if that's actually going to be the case, but the promotions that I'm seeing are they're ripping the words Thunderbolts off the poster and showing the New Avengers. So maybe it's just a marketing thing, and it's a way to get people to be like, hey, this is a new group of Avenger-like characters, the New Avengers. Either way, really happy to hear that this crew works well together. But that's my question now is, where are these characters going to show up next? Are they going to have their own little smaller scale stories that we follow in future movies? Or is this their solo movie as a group and then we see them link up with our real Avengers, so to speak, in the big Avengers movie like the Doomsday, the Secret War, all that? That I'm curious.
Yeah.
Or is this going to be its own little, like, the New Avengers 2 kind of thing or whatever? So either way, it doesn't really matter. I'm just kind of talking out loud and speculating, but happy to hear that. Florence Pugh leading the way, no brainer. Like, she's a great actress to put the weight of the franchise on her back, and like she's a superstar and amazing actress. So I'm not surprised at all to hear that she's the star here and lugging heavy minutes. And I can't wait to see it. Probably within the next 2 weeks, I'll have seen it, no doubt.
Awesome. I don't want to answer everything you ask because once you watch it, then we'll have a good discussion about it. But yeah, like I thought the strength of the movie was the actors and the characters, and like that's what Marvel needs to be about, not the Ant-Man 3s and the Marvels, and like where it's less story and characters and more about the stupid plot that we've seen 100 times.
Yeah.
You know, yes, this movie is not this movie is predictable. It's nothing you haven't seen before, but it's enjoyable because of the characters you're with. Guardians of the Galaxy, super simple story, but like we loved all the characters, and the first one like took us by storm. Where like Guardians was the Thunderbolts before before people had seen it. People were like, "What the hell is Guardians of the Galaxy?" We all remember it was like 2015 or 14, and like, what the hell is this garbage? But it was Guardians is one of the best trilogies of the best. They haven't dropped in quality, anyways.
Yeah.
That's Thunderbolts. Did you want me to go into my next thing, Eric, or you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I can go. So, I'll recommend a movie that I think I talked about last episode, but I actually got to see it now. Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler. So this, like, I think I even said last episode, like, I wasn't really interested in seeing it based on the trailers. I thought it looked kind of goofy. Michael B. Jordan plays twins. This is set in the South. He's gangsters called Smoke and Stack. They open up this jukebox joint, and then obviously there's a big gathering that happens on the night of their opening night, and shit goes south, let's just say. It's not the opening night that they expected or hoped to have. I don't think anyone on earth would hope to have the night that they end up having, but all this to say, absolutely action-packed movie filled with intrigue, darkness, some humor. This is a blockbuster worth seeing in movies. Like, I don't think it'll have in me saying there's a lot of action. It's probably not as much as you get in Thunderbolts, but there's a lot of good scenes in there where you're just dialed into the characters. You want to make sure everyone's all right, and like, I mean, I don't. If you've seen this trailer, you know what there's a twist in the movie at some point there,
I know
but
the twist. Yeah.
Like, I'll just say it. Like, it's if you don't want to know, just skip 15 seconds. Like, it's a vampire movie, basically. So there's a turn in the movie at one point, and it's a great turn. Like, sometimes my critique of some horror movies is I love the world that they build up, and then they introduce this supernatural thing, and for me personally, it doesn't land. This time it did, for sure. And it's off the strength of the acting, the characters you care for. There's a bunch of characters in this movie, arguably too many, but you want all of them to be all right. You're like, no, not her. Come on, be okay. This dude, like, everyone pulls their weight. There's these new actors I've never seen in anything before who shine, and a massive, massive strength of this movie is the music. It's a central theme to the movie and the story, and every single time there's songs in there, they're just bangers. And some of the things that they do in terms of the cinematography and the way scenes are filmed is really impressive, and it's a must-see in theaters, in my opinion. No questions asked, best movie of 2025. I also haven't seen that many. I think You're Cordially Invited is clocking in at my number 2 at this point. So the field is pretty weak, but Sinners is not to be ever mentioned in the same sentence as You're Cordially Invited another time. So that would be my recommendation. Sinners. Haley Steinfeld, also amazing in the movie. I don't know why she's not in more movies, to be honest.
She's got a busy life. She's like a singer, and she's with Josh Allen from The Bills.
Yeah.
She's insanely talented. Eric, I can't wait to watch this. I have my tickets for this movie for Thursday, and I'm going with my mom. I've already planned it. As soon as I got out of Thunderbolts, I'm like, all right, next week I need to go see another movie. Sinners, done. I heard a lot about it. People at work telling me about it. They're telling me it's like the movie From Dusk Till Dawn, which starts off action and goes into vampires. So it's like, all right. People are calling it Tarantino-esque, very stylistic. Ryan Coogler's like a tour de force effort, like in all aspects. Michael B. Jordan's performance, I heard a lot about it. I can't wait to watch it. I'm not going to expect a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, but like I have high hopes for it. But I'm sure I'll like it because it's a semi-horror movie, which is what I'm going to like. I can't wait to see that blending of the genres. I know Jack O'Connell's in it as the bad guy, and he's the main character in that show I recommended, Rogue Agents, SAS Rogue Agents. He's a really good British actor.
It was really good.
I didn't know much about him. Yeah, I didn't know much about him until I watched that World War II show, but he's in Sinners, so I can't wait to see that. Very pumped for this movie, Eric. Nice. So, again, like Thunderbolts, I'll bring my thoughts on the next episode or so, and I'm sure we'll talk about it some more. We can go into spoilers maybe. So, can't wait.
So that would be all that I have to recommend at this time.
I only have one more thing,
Okay.
honestly, and you should honestly watch it. I crushed this all in one shot one night. Eric, it's the animated Star Wars show, Tales of the Underworld. I
Oh
loved it.
yeah.
6 episodes, I think. Super easy to watch, fast paced, like 15, 17 minutes per episode. They go into 2 storylines. I loved it. Have you seen it, Eric?
Well, yeah. Let's talk about it. I've seen it too. So
Okay. The Ventura. Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, there's the Ventura storyline and the Cad Bane. I just loved it. Cool action. This is like, it's the same as watching quality Clone War episodes. Basically, that's the vibe I got. Never a dull moment. Emotional, good action. This has no business being this good, but it's very good. What do you think, Eric?
This was like elite Star Wars, and particularly the Cad Bane storyline. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed the Ventress for sure. I was just happy. Give me animated Star Wars. I'm a happy 31-year-old kid. But this was just Cad Bane storyline specifically, other level, and was emotional. Like, I felt bad, and I kind of saw what they're teeing up with his girlfriend in the second episode. Like, oh, like we have stuff to look forward to. I'm like, okay, I think I see what's happening here. So just seeing Cad Bane in 3 different points in his life, when he's a kid, to see how he gets into the gangster, the mafia lifestyle, then when he's a teenager, I guess, to see his mentor get gunned down and then want revenge, kind of sets him down that truly dark path where he gets incarcerated for the first of 59 times. And then the 3rd episode where he comes back, wants vengeance on his former best friend who cuffed him, put him behind bars, married his girlfriend, had a kid with her. You just kind of, it was great to see where this character grew up and what he's had to go through to become who we only know him as a ruthless, cold-hearted bounty hunter in the Clone Wars and Rebels and Book of Boba Fett and all that. So it explains so much, and I like that they didn't necessarily like explicitly say everything. They're like, yeah, this is what happened, and this is what you just did, and all that. Like, everything that's insinuated was done so well, and the way it's filmed where the kid looks up, and I don't know, I loved all of that. I felt bad for the homie, you know what I'm saying? So I don't want to spoil, but like there's some sad stuff in this arc.
Yeah.
So in my books, that was peak Star Wars. Give me more. I don't know if they're gonna do more Tales of the Underworld. They seem to always give us a new grouping of characters, but I want more origin story Cad Bane. Like, I feel like that goes without saying, but so good.
Yeah, those last 3 episodes, which total maybe 50 minutes, was way more. I was way more invested in that story than all of The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker or
The Acolyte.
the solo movie. Like this could have been a 3-hour. This is a story plot that's been taken from old movies where a decision as kids leads into a life of crime for one and a life of law enforcement for another. It's been done like it's since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
And that one decision Captain makes as a young boy to jump that car and flee with the bad guys and his friend getting arrested. Like, had they both got arrested, it might have led to a different life, right? It's that turning point in life where it leads you down a different path. Love that. Everything was done so quick. It could have been stretched out, but maybe it being done quick is why it was so, like, there never a wasted moment. And then a Western feel, man, in that last episode, like with the duels and the good guy and the bad guy go way back. They know each other. There's backstory. There's history. Sure, we only got 50 minutes of this, but when they stare at each other, it's like they've known each other when they were desperate in the slums as kids, and now they have to do this. Like, there's a lot of weight and emotion there, and even though it's animated and it's aliens, I don't care. You could see it in their eyes and expressions, and it was very like, holy fuck, this is great television done in a Star Wars cartoon medium, which was just great in my opinion. Like you said, peak Star Wars, and people may laugh at this if they haven't seen it, but it really is like it's excellent storytelling at
its rawest form, right? So very good. And like when anyways, good shit. I highly recommend Tales of the Underworld for everyone.
Yeah, it was probably my favorite of all the Tales, personally. Like, I really enjoyed the
Yeah.
Dooku Qui-Gon that we got in Tales of the Jedi. I haven't seen Tales of the Empire, but I remember starting it and seeing it was focused on Morgan Elsbeth, which, I don't know. Like, I'm not super passionate about that character. Asajj Ventress is an interesting one where I absolutely hated her watching Clone Wars, but then she kind of goes on this redemption tour, abandons the ways of the Sith, the Separatists. So it's cool kind of seeing her, and we see her in Bad Batch also in the last season, where she's really now on this kind of gray Balin Skull esque path, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see her come in live action at some point, fighting on the right side of history. I would bet significant amount of money to say that she'll be in live action within the next 3-4 years. We're gonna see her. So, but all that being said, I don't think her episodes were incredible. It was cool to see, okay, like she's taken on motherhood in a sense and is fighting for the right cause, and this is kind of where this leads to her in the Bad Batch. I think is kind of where it would line up, where she had already taken another kid under her wing and all that. So cool, and it also kind of teed up stuff that they introduced in Kenobi, right? With Quinlan Vos and the Path. Like, that's a storyline that they was just there in Kenobi, but I think with these animated shows, they're trying to explain, like, okay, this is how these things got set up, and Quinlan Vos, blah 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 blah. Cool. It was cool to see Obi-Wan for like 2 seconds, but still, I enjoyed that. But yeah, the Cad Bane Western feel is just unreal. We could keep going, but like I said earlier, like I would have loved to see this have like 3 episode arcs. Like, I would have done a 12 episode season of this show, no doubt. And before I forget, that reminds me, I don't know if you had heard about this, Matt, but confirmed for 2026, we're getting an animated Star Wars show called Maul Shadow Lord. I don't know if you had heard of this, but I think that's gonna be unbelievable. I can't wait for that.
And the fact that it's animated, like you said, I'm very excited, because I think that's the way to go with. It's just easier to show Star Wars stuff in an animated medium.
Okay, awesome. I had not heard of this. I'm very excited now.
So my understanding of this is that this is gonna follow Maul in his plight to develop the underworld that he got associated with in between episodes 3 and 4, right? Like when we see him in Solo and he's mentoring a young Kira from the shadows, he's risen up. And even in the Clone Wars, we see that he has ties with the Pikes and all the other various clans. So we're going to see that fleshed out a bit more, and I can't wait to see it. The actor who plays Maul, Sam Witwer, unbelievable actor. And that guy, I don't know how familiar you are with him, Matt, but his knowledge and understanding of Star Wars is second to very few. And just having him involved in Star Wars going forward is just a good thing for one of our most beloved franchises of all time. So I can't wait for that show.
Awesome. I had no idea this existed till right now, so thanks for bringing that up. That's awesome. Go.
So, yeah, on that note, that's all I got as well. Sinners, Tales of the Underworld. Should have more next time. I just started the studio last night, actually, so I liked the first episode. It was pretty funny. Looking forward to seeing where it goes, and I might start up that John Hamm show on Apple TV. Right now, Apple is the new Netflix, the new HBO, the king of streaming, if you will. They're doing it all. It feels like every month there's a new show that the first 2 episodes just premiered, and it's with an A-lister. All right, that's it. All right, so on that note, I guess we can call it there. Great times chatting Severance and all other matters of conversation with you, Matt. Any final notes for the listeners?
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed our Severance talk. And there's so much more there's so much to this show, and I hope you enjoyed our little morsel of it. And I hope you're enjoying your summer right now. And thank you for listening to the podcast once again.
Absolutely. I thought you were going to add on to my Kings of Streaming comment, but
yeah,
we'll just move on. So thanks a lot, everybody, for listening. Stay tuned for episodes dropping every 2 Mondays. Continue to enjoy the beautiful weather. Get out there for rounds of golf. Lord knows I will see you on hole number 1. And yeah, peace. Greyhawk. Let's go.